Ingram Smith, Bud Elliott, back again for another episode of the Nolecast. Damn, if that wasn't a hell of a weekend, Bud. I know that's probably not how I had planned on starting the podcast, but my lord, Florida State 24, LSU 23. We won't do like a full game review here. It's been a couple days. We'll certainly hit on some high notes. Notice, if we think there was something different or unique that we've noticed in a rewatch or something like that. But just want to thank everybody for legitimately one of the better 3 days of my life. So that was just a whole hell of a lot of fun. A fan base that was, starved to go and be involved in a big game, big atmosphere. And I couldn't have been more impressed with just Florida State's overall showing. So just an absolute bonkers good time. And we'll get into the show here, but wanted to start the conversation with a legitimate thank you to everybody that was out there and just the Florida State fan base in general. That was amazing. Great showing. Shout out to the students. I don't know if you talked to as many as I did, but there were tons of kids out there who were like, no, I don't have tickets. I just wanted to come to New Orleans, have an awesome time. I'm like, well, you probably will, young man. You probably will. So awesome. Let's do it. Here it goes. This will be the Nolecast.
What a weekend. Madison Social just absolutely took over the bar crawl scene, unofficial, I think. But I don't know if the bars knew they were coming. And when we got to the carousel bar and it was like fire hazard packed, I was like, okay, this is going to be interesting. Shout out to Matt for hooking us up there. And next year in my town, Orlando, I think we'll have to do a Nolecast bar crawl, and we'll have a whole year to plan it. Should be really dope. Yeah, man, just the fans were absolutely incredible. I thought just like you think in that dome, LSU is going to have such a big advantage. And I really don't think there were that many more LSU fans there. And it was probably 45, 55, 40, 60. It wasn't 80, 20.
No,
FSU fans
were
plenty loud.
Yeah, I don't think it was any more than 45, 55, if that. I mean, I was sitting right kind of on one of the barrier sections. There were a few LSU fans in there, but that's as 50-50 as a stadium could be. Truly a neutral site game in a non-neutral site city, and just exceptional. Amazing experience. So, yeah, I mean, everything from driving on I-10 and seeing how many Florida State fans were also headed west. When I got to the same bar crawl that you did, about 20 minutes behind, I think each step that you were at, it was ridiculous, impressive. And
the rain pushing everybody inside made it like an additional blank show,
mm-hmm.
right? Because you have all these people who are not even part of the bar crawl who are going inside the nearest bar because of the lightning storm. And it's like, oh my gosh, okay, like this is going to be capacity really everywhere. Got to run around with Shannon and and his wife, and that was incredible. By the way, two things. One, I do want to say, and we'll talk a little more about this later. If you missed our post-game instant reaction show, it is on YouTube, okay? We did it from the lobby of the hotel where the team was staying, the New Orleans Marriott, and it is an absolutely epic show. I wish I could have gotten on Ingram's level there as far as just how much celebrating. I had to get up and do, Cover 3 and TV and some radio work in the morning. We did not put this on the podcast servers because when you're doing something live and you're doing with fans, sometimes people could jump in the background and say things that are like, I'm sure all of y'all have heard them before, but we don't want to get the explicit tag on Apple. So that's why if you haven't watched it, I think you'd probably be pretty well served to go back and watch it. It really was a lot of fun. It was a unique event. We're not planning on doing Ingram hammered, and Bud hammered Ingram every post game. It's probably not going to be our normal strategy.
No,
but that was really hell of fun, man.
Hell of fun. It was aided in the fact that I got back there about 20 minutes before you did. And as we've discussed, it's hard to tell people no, like I'm not going to have a shot with you or whatever. Probably should have turned down a couple of shots during that window. Also, it was
Shannon's
fun,
buying.
Man. Shannon's buying, true.
Do we tell people the alternate plan?
I don't even want to acknowledge it. I will just say that y'all, I've done some of the most soul-crushing, depressing instant reaction podcast that I could ever imagine over the last 3 or 4 years. If you don't think I'm gonna have a good time in New Orleans after an incredible win, relatively speaking, got a little nervous there at the end, you're wrong. And just candidly speaking, this is Bud and I's operation. We don't have to answer to anybody. It was a hell of a lot of fun. I wouldn't change anything. So,
Well, we do answer to our sponsors who were literally sitting at the table with us as we broadcast, loving every minute.
Yeah,
So I felt like that was pretty good approval there, and the likes and the generous donations from the people in the super chat. That was
the super chat.
wow.
I kind of clumsily turned that on the day before. We still don't know what we're doing with that, y'all. So I apologize if we missed you. Very sorry. Like my man Cedric, you're the man. I appreciate it, man. Not only a great supporter in the super chat, got a home loan through Shannon as well. So a P1 supporter of the Nolecast, and it is greatly appreciated. And everybody else that supported us, thank you very much. I'll also say the trip to New Orleans was incredibly fun, also very expensive, and your money will go towards helping us make other trips like that possible in the future. So,
you know who else made a trip? Hakeem Williams.
Hakeem Williams, absolutely. Let's revisit the prediction, bud. I've got my own prediction to give, but look, it certainly appears Florida State's in as good a position as they possibly could be with that kid.
Yeah, I mean, I thought if you had a winning record, right, after LSU and Louisville, you'd get the kids verbal commitment. Now you still got to hold on till the end, but I'm not changing my opinion now.
Yeah,
I think FSU has a pretty good shot to have a winning record there, given that they already have 2 wins.
I do. I think math works on our side there. I do think you're going to get a commitment from Hakeem Williams. I think you're going to have to fight Jimbo Fisher tooth and nail. Jimbo Fisher has made this a personal priority of his. LSU. LSU last year had Jimbo not backed himself into a corner, perhaps. But Jimbo Fisher has taken over this recruitment personally. Texas A&M might have botched 1 or 2 things in the early stages of it, but it's Fisher's baby, and Fisher knows how to recruit that part of the world as well as just about anybody out there. So I think you're doing great. I think you're in as good of a place as you can. I think you're going to get a very solid and exciting verbal commitment, and then you're going to have to battle old Brown Jacket down to signing day. So better place to be in than sitting outside the top 4 or something like that. Certainly.
Now look, A&M's the receiver development in Jimbo's offense has been like atrocious over the last decade. If you look at the number of blue chips signed versus the number of drafted, the ratio is terrible. I mean, it's one of the absolute worst out there for any offense that has been around for 10 years and is signing 10 or 20 blue chip receivers. But they do have 2 pretty good ones this year in Evan Stewart and Marshall. And there's a chance that those guys are going to ball out, right? And A&M can hold that up and say, hey, look at these freshmen in this offense doing things, because they definitely did some things last Saturday. That would be a marked difference from what has gone on in that offense, really, since you've had to use like Dwayne Bowe to sell things. And kids nowadays are like, who is Dwayne Bowe?
Yes,
right? Like
absolutely.
They weren't even born. Yeah, like that's for Hakeem Williams to be there, for your receivers to make big time plays, whether it was Wilson making, I know he had the early drop and he had that nice catch over the middle. Obviously, Pokey doing his thing with the one-hander, giving your guys chances to make one-on-ones. Hell, look, the misconnection with Pittman in the end zone is still a, hey, 4th down, money down, we're going to throw it up to our receiver type thing. Now, I'm sure Mike Norvell did that because they were trying to win the game and they thought that was the best strategy in the moment, but it doesn't hurt that they went to receivers in one-on-one coverage repeatedly. And sometimes in this game, it worked out with some really exciting catches. So, Norvell post-game had to be pretty excited about how that game plan worked out for them. You know what else is really excited about this? The guys who run the boosters. President McCullough, right? I mean, your athletic director, everybody, because they've had to kind of squeeze blood from a stone, man. When it comes to fundraising, it's all like, like hope and this and that. But having like an actual win that you can sell off for a couple of weeks is nice. So maybe LSU ends up being terrible and you can't sell this win 5 months from now. But in the now, people are pretty excited. Like we've not seen energy like this from FSU's fans in quite some time.
Very, very excited. And I just as one of the first people I thought of when I saw that kid from Jacksonville State go in the end zone last year, my thoughts immediately went to Matt Harris, uh, to Matt Thompson, and not just Matt Thompson. I'm speaking metaphorically there. I'm speaking of all the people in Tallahassee who run a business and need for Florida State not to lose to teams like Jacksonville State. Those are the same people I thought of when they won that game. Obviously, you got a bye week, you're traveling to Louisville. There's going to be a little time before you can immediately reap these awards as far as an in game or an on site game. But still, for this fan base not to have its teeth, genitals, and hopes kicked in the first 2 or 3 weeks of a season, it's a nice change, right? I mean, it's nice to dream. We've got a question tonight where a guy's talking about Jordan winning the Heisman. All right, you're getting a little ahead of yourself there, but it's great to be able to do that rather than talk about, hey, what are we going to look like in 3 years after another rebuild or something like that? So it's brilliant. Don't want to belabor the point too much, but look, you sent 50,000 people to New Orleans. 30 to 35,000 of them had tickets. Don't think that doesn't get recognized by people in Rosemont, Illinois, or Birmingham, Alabama. I'm referencing the home of the Big Ten and the SEC there as well. This was a massive statement that Florida State is a big damn program. There's probably not but about 10 that could do something like that. And when they're engaged, and it doesn't hurt that your game drew 7.6 million people on TV either. That's quite the reminder that the logo still matters, to paraphrase someone on Twitter.
100%. All right, so FSU, obviously a great pick for our conference. Another great pick is Prize Picks. Our new sponsor, Prize Picks. I'm wearing the Prize Picks hat tonight, so they paid us some good coin to get me to wear a sponsored hat. No, but really, like, guys, we do turn down quite a few sponsors if we don't feel like it's the right people to work with. We've been approached by other people in this space before, and just asking around. I didn't love the business practices of some other folks. Prize Picks, I feel like, has a good reputation. That's one of the reasons why we decided to go with him. And we had some near misses this weekend. We were in New Orleans, living it up. We wanted to go with the power play, go for the 10X. And the power play that we put together actually came really close, man. Like we had some near misses here. And, I'm the one we put together and tweeted out, Micah Pittman to catch 4 balls. He caught 3. I did not anticipate Pokey Wilson catching, what did he catch, 7?
I didn't see Pokey having the day that he did, no. And Micah Pittman, maybe I disagreed with the idea in general, but still would have loved you to catch the ball on a corner route and would have taken care of that one and the next one as well. But hey, can't complain too much. The other one that I'm referencing here is we had Jordan Williams. Maybe I'll get some kids' names right tonight. We had Jordan Travis with 23.5 fantasy, a score of 23.5, and he got 21.5. Again, maybe you catch a corner route, maybe you don't pitch the ball, and you just have the quarterback run a sneak at the end of the game. But certainly the sentiment as to would Jordan perform well and would he show some of the progress that we had seen and talked to those on the staff about was absolutely there. Just didn't completely translate to a fantasy score number that we thought was attainable.
Jaden Daniels under 239. He only had 209, so that was a hit for us on that. And then JT more than 41 yards rushing. He had 31. If he breaks off one more, I think we're probably pretty good there. Overall, like, I don't feel terrible about any of those, and I would fire that combo again, especially getting 10X on that. And we will have some more picks for you coming up for this weekend. Granted, FSU doesn't play since that's the bye week, so we will tease this coming out tomorrow. We will have sort of a weekend preview / look around FSU's conference opponents and just the remaining schedule, because we'll talk a little bit of ULL and a little bit of Gators in that one as well. We'll make some prize picks for that weekend. And Ben from Prize Picks actually texted and let me know that there is a special Prize Picks, essentially free square, that y'all can have if you are interested in this. Let me pull this up to make sure that I read.
You got your Tom Brady half-yard rushing.
You got it too. Okay.
Rushing, half-yard passing, free square.
Half-yard passing, I feel like Tom Brady can get.
Feel like that'll get there, and if
that is an endorsement,
that would be hard to exactly make sense of. But yes, so you do get a free square there.
Oh,
Is
sorry.
it Nolecast or Nolecast 100?
Promo code
I'm sorry.
Nolecast.
Nolecast.
Yes.
Thank you.
Promo code Nolecast. You get your 100% deposit match up to $100. It's pretty awesome. Just download the app. I enjoy playing with it. It's a good time. Like, it's not, I'm not dropping thousands of dollars in the app every night, but it is a good, you throw little $20 shots at this. Makes watching some games more entertaining. The combos really get pretty exciting once you hit 3 or 4, and you're rooting for that 4th to hit. That's pretty exciting. So Prize Picks, download the app, promo code Nolecast. Link will also be in the description.
Fantastic, man. What is not so great is we need to just touch on this real quickly. To be honest with you, this was a concern of ours as of I think Tuesday last week. Bless Harris out for the year. You're 2 weeks in. You've lost. When you look at the Wisconsin transfer, you've lost 2 kids that you thought would potentially be starters for you. Are you? Yeah. Does it matter? Absolutely, does it matter? Are you in like a desperation mode? Not yet, but you can't really sustain more than 1, maybe 2 at most along the offensive line, or you're kind of back to where we were a year or 2 ago. But yeah, this hurts. I mean, this is disappointing. Unfortunately, this is where I thought that the news was going, and we had it. Really, you have it confirmed when the kid walks out on the field on Sunday in a sling, but had it officially confirmed
Friday night in the hotel.
Yeah,
or Saturday night in the hotel. Yeah,
officially confirmed by Mike Norvell after practice today.
And obviously, like, there's sometimes stuff, and you're not going to like just tweet it out there, necessarily. I'm not implying that we're the only ones who knew that. I'm pretty sure the whole beat knew that. FSU has a pretty liberal practice policy as far as being able to go and watch practices. They just they don't want you to address injuries if Norvell doesn't address them. And for the most part, I think we generally try to abide by that. So best wishes to Bless Harris for his health. Obviously, it does kind of explain why he was so bad for the last 20 minutes of that game against Duquesne after being okay, prior, or last 20 snaps, if you will. But yeah, man, like I looked at this, and FSU's got a shot to win 10 plus games now. I'm also not real happy about how thin they got on the offensive line this quickly. Like, the range for them, preseason we said what, like anywhere between 4-8 and 10-2 is within mathematical possibility, and like 11-1, 12-0 is really unlikely, and 3-9, like you're probably just a crazy person hater type guy. I think 4-8 is really unlikely now, and I still think 12-0 is unlikely. But if you stay perfectly healthy, and some of these other teams that you play don't hit their ceiling, you could win 10, 11 games. But you're going to need to stay really healthy now, because now you are scraping it, that barrel, and that's going to be tough. Like you need to stay healthy. It's very important. I mean, Turrentine didn't play that bad, though, I will say. Like, I thought he was admirable for how he got in there. Him showing up to camp in shape, very important.
Yeah.
Like, imagine if he didn't show up in shape. He got benched in South Carolina for a reason. Yeah. That was big.
Jazz played well. You've got some pieces you can move around. It'd be interesting to see how this works out. But yeah, you've played your 2 injury mulligans in the first 2 weeks, and that's not what you want to do. So one more thing, just when we're kind of speaking in generalities, and we're not like a big like we don't talk about stuff like this the whole time. I do want to give a shout out to the Marching Chiefs. Like that was one of the more ridiculous band performances that I've seen. It was great to see just how much energy those kids had. Everything from when they ran out on the field to some of their song selections throughout the night. It was awesome. College with bands is one of the things that makes it uniquely enjoyable. And the Chiefs were in rare form last Sunday. So I did want to mention that real quickly.
That they were really, really awesome. And they were better than LSU's band, I thought. And LSU's got a damn good band as well. And that was just really, really exciting to see. All right. You want to talk to
We moved to some of our general takeaways from the game, things that jumped out at us, and rewatch some of the things that we can talk about that we're fairly confident are going to be true, despite only being, one real game. I'm really I don't even think I'm going to reference the Duquesne game at this point moving forward. There's not a whole lot you can take from that.
I'm
There's
having
not a
to
whole lot
filter it all out of my stats. I'm like, wait a second.
yeah,
They did not
yeah.
play this coverage this amount of times. Like, oh, it's Duquesne. Okay.
Yeah, we're at game one, and it is like the human want, and something that both of us actively try to fight is to not take away too much from the limited sample size, the limited data set that you can. At the same time, I do think there's some things that you can be fairly confident that you can bank on with this team moving forward, and most of these are positive. And there's one or two things that I think have stood out to me that I'm not trying to be negative, but you're going to need to address or get an answer for.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it, man. Jordan Travis, I think, had his best game overall. LSU did try to scheme to take away his legs as much as possible and to take away the run game. And we discussed this on the pre-show. You would need, if they did do so, you would need to find ways to throw the football. And I thought he did a really nice job. It's not like FSU's receivers were getting wide open, right? I mean, you had some guys who got open. They were not consistently destroying LSU's defensive backs. You know, they
created some space in the middle of the field, which Jordan
Yes.
took advantage of. Love that. Love some of the plays Jordan made on the run. And some of this, I think, is just how you process and remember things. I think some of his best throws of the night were the ones that were dropped. I mean,
the ball to Cam.
The ball to Cam is as good of a throw as you're ever. I know that's not, and I'm not like the throw to Pookie is great, or to Pokey's great, but like a lot of quarterbacks can do that. The ball to McDonald that he drops, and I understand he's late seeing it, but that is an absolute.
I thought you were going to say
here
in footsteps, but
he could have been, but he was also shielded, and I don't think he saw the ball as clearly as he could have. I still need you to catch it, but man, some of the throws, even the throws to on the 3rd and 4, where they take a deep shot with Pokey, and he just gets nudged out of bounds. Pokey's got to do a little bit better job there of giving him a target that he can throw to, but that's still a hell of a ball. And Jordan, I can't talk how I can't be appropriately effusive in my praise as to how good he was. The jump pass, I don't want you to try that a ton, but it's still nuts. It's absolutely incredible.
I do want to correct one thing I said. I said he didn't put any balls in jeopardy, right?
And he got lucky on the one tip.
There was one
tip ball. Yeah.
Yeah. I think he gets hit on that, though. You know?
Mm-hmm.
But like as far as decision making, I thought it was really pretty damn good. LSU, there were no like, hey, threw it right to the LSU guy and the LSU guy drops it type stuff. That was really good. He seemed to have real command of the offense. Some of the audibles that I think he made, like I don't think he audibled every player or anything like that, but I do think that he has a real command of this offense. The legs are such a threat, right? Like you saw the couple times, and it wasn't necessarily scrambling to run; it was scrambling to throw. I got that wrong in the pre-show. You know, really nice job there. I was super impressed with what Jordan did.
Before we get to our 3 other points here, real quickly, didn't hit it at the top. 3 simple ingredients, 1 fantastic product, and the Louisiana hot sauce, as always, in absolutely integral cast being possible. And a big shout out to our good friend Jeremy Carter and Tarpon Cellars Wine. Jeremy's out in Napa right now, going through harvest, and is kind of living and dying with every pass that he was watching on Sunday as well. And look forward to catching up with him later, but do want to remind people of the coupon code that is Nolecast, and that will get you 20% off any of the fine selections that the great people at Tarpon Cellars make available.
You know what we should do is, like, I was thinking about, I usually don't take time off during the football season because for obvious reasons, but I was thinking about maybe taking off the SEC SoCon Challenge Week, which is where all the SEC teams play like FCS opponents. You know, if FSU plays Louisiana, we could probably do some remote coverage from that if we wanted to take the girls out to Napa during that week.
I emailed Jeremy today. Yeah, I emailed him today asking what would be a good time for us to come out there and sample his wares. So that I didn't know that calendar date was in play, but I will let you know of what we come back with. It would be a hell of a time.
One thing we do know is that we apparently know LSU's players better than some of the most famous LSU TV show / podcast guys. Because seems like it's a big surprise to them that their 18-year-old 5-star tackle might get bullied with some bull rush stuff, which I think FSU scouted this pretty well. I'm sure they watched all of the tape of that kid playing high school, playing all-star games, playing all-star summer showcase events, and they might have seen something that maybe he was a little better handling speed rush than he was handling power rush, which, by the way, is exactly what we said, right? I was like, yeah, Jared Verse, we'll see how many moves he has, but he does have that explode off the line with power move, and we'll have to see just at first play. Boom. Just guys just knock back, and he got put on his butt several times. Jared Verse ain't perfect yet, man, as far as technique, understanding where he needs to go. Some of the big runs, I think, were probably on him. Not all of them. I think sometimes you had a guy who need to loop. But the disruption he caused was absolutely insane. And I think it affected LSU's play calling after a bit, too. They're like, oh, God, we really can't block this guy.
Yeah. Look, I knew Verse would be really explosive. I knew there'd be plays where you're like, oh, was that a middle linebacker or was that a linebacker who made that play? No, that was the backside defensive end. I can't believe that. I didn't know this guy was going to be this explosive. There's a play, and I'm sure you guys have probably seen it on social media. There's a play where he literally picks up and throws LSU's right tackle, almost similar to the Derwin James play against Florida 6 or 7 years ago, whenever that was. I mean, that is a man who, again, I knew he'd be quick off the line. I thought he could beat some people with speed. But that's a guy that's got a level of power and force to him that is nuts. I mean, I don't think he's going to continue to be rated as one of the better defensive linemen in the country. Sure hope he is. But he introduced himself to the nation in quite an emphatic way on Sunday.
Yeah, there will be teams who have success against Verse because they're going to do things that he hasn't seen before or that confuse him or make him think a little bit. LSU didn't, and I'm not saying he's not a smart player or that he's not capable of thinking. I don't want to get that wrong, but he is new to playing at this level. But if you're just trying to block him one-on-one, that's kind of tough for a lot of these guys, especially if you're an 18-year-old freshman and you are not able to really hold up bulk-wise with him because he is that damn strong, man. That was fantastic. I saw him get a lot of NFL draft love. Maybe it's a guy that, gosh, I mean, I'm not saying he's going pro, but he would kill the combine, right? So
I think we could be pretty confident of that at this point. Yeah.
Yeah. Given like if you've seen the weightlifting clips, yeah, that's a guy who could do 30 reps. All right. Linebacker play you have on the list here. I know you were extremely excited about the linebacker play, as was I.
I think we can be confident that it is significantly improved. I mean, Bethune is just
best since 14.
Different ingredient there. Best since 15, certainly. Best since 14. Yeah,
because Telvin was still there for 14, right?
Telvin was there for 14. What was that? Telvin, Terrence. Trying to think of who else was there.
Wait, no, Telvin was gone in 13.
Okay.
It was Terrence Smith, the occasional appearance of Matthew Thomas.
Yeah, MT6 was running around every once in a while.
Who else? Was that Northrop? Northrop?
That was maybe that linebacking core wasn't that good. It was just some of my favorite players and personalities ever. Now that I think about it, although Terrence Smith was a damn good ball player, and I really was happy he had the career that he did at Florida State.
All right. Northrop, Terrence Smith, Matthew Thomas were the top 3 linebacker tacklers. Jacob Pugh had 7 tackles. And your linebacker stayed healthy as heck that year. I mean, to have your 4th backer only have 7 tackles on the year is pretty impressive.
Yep. So, yeah, I mean, I think you're right there. Maybe you've got the pieces to even exceed that unit to an extent. So, Bethune's great. I'll tell you what, man, watching damn Kalen DeLoach pull the pin is poetry in motion. I mean, that guy, when he makes his decision and figures out to the point he's running to, that is a whole hell of a lot of fun to watch. And DJ Lundy has made the physical improvements that he has, and it was pretty badass to watch that kid score a touchdown as well. So I'm excited about your linebackers. I think you can be fairly confident that you've got as good of a unit as you have had in quite a while around here.
Got to see Rob Deloach, catch up with him a little bit at the hotel before the game. Known Rob for a while, obviously, because when Kalen was recruiting. That's a dad that's done some serious parenting, man. I think he's got 3 kids who are went to college on scholarships and graduated with great grades and are either
Great
playing
athletes,
some kind of pro sports or having a big time career now.
One of them's a good ball player at VCU. Yeah, Deloach is an impressive guy. He really is.
I think the daughter ran. I forgot her name now. I think she ran track at Ohio State. I know, or something at Ohio State. I think it was track.
I think it was Ohio State. Yeah, my daughter runs track at Ohio State. My son plays football at Florida State, and the other one's a ball player at VCU. Yeah, that's quite the resume, sir. Well done.
That's a travel schedule, man. Think about like if you got 3 kids playing college ball at 3 different conferences. That's at least you're not all the schedules run concurrently, I guess.
Yeah. All right, so I don't want to pile on, but I am concerned with where we are at defensive back, particularly with Duke Cooper. Now, maybe it's just an expectation things, and you wanted to project that kid from the back half of last season into being one of the better corners in the conference, and that hasn't taken place yet. If it was just this game, I don't think I'd even be having this conversation with you, but I'd just say it was a guy maybe at the end of the game that got a little over aggressive or lost some of his techniques and things. But this has been going on long enough that it's a little bit of a concern. So we'll have to see where that is. Maybe it's a thing where 12 days of rest helps. Maybe it's that you start to see different people in a rotation. I don't know. But you're certainly not getting anywhere near the level of play that you would have felt fairly confident you were going to get if we were to, go back into the time machine and have this conversation in April or May, immediately following spring practice.
Totally agree with that, man. Totally agree. A couple more I just want to run through here before we end this show, and then we're going to probably take a 5-minute break and start recording the next show, which will release on. We'll drop this one Thursday. We'll drop the next one Friday, I believe. So on the rewatch, do you remember in the preview we discussed how they might try to do some of that UCLA stuff because of how undisciplined LSU's defensive front was against UCLA last year? I didn't actually know they were going to do that. Like, that's not insider info. I just figured, like, hey, given you have a very, very mobile quarterback and how poorly LSU handled that, they actually did do some of that stuff. I was excited to see it. Right, UCLA ran that sort of like same reduced pulling guys into round. They obviously they didn't run it through span, but she ran it through span. UCLA also ran a good amount of like power read and counter read in that game. We saw some of that at FSU here. They didn't hit a bunch of explosives on it, but they did pull some of this stuff out at times. And if nothing else, I think maybe it caused LSU's guys to be a little more hesitant on the next play, given that they just got red on the prior play. I wonder how much more of that you would have seen had Mason Smith not got injured. You know, I mean, like we should address this, okay? For all the LSU fans making excuses out there, a lot of these excuses are nonsense. LSU is not as good of a team as I thought they were. I think they're very talented. They're really not all that coordinated yet, and it's not saying like they're poorly coached. It's just they've not gelled as a team yet. That was one of our questions we had in the pregame. I think it's why we thought this was a winnable game. I mean, you picked FSU to win. I picked 24-23 LSU. So I missed it by a point on each side, unfortunately. I wonder if you run more of that stuff and just try to read Mason Smith if he stays in the game, because he was wrecking you in the first 3 plays. Like, it was noticeable. And if Mason Smith stays in the game, I'm not really sure you win.
Yeah, he did wreck you. He wrecked you enough to where I think some of the stuff that I talked about, what I thought you're going to try to do from a running schematic standpoint, you realized immediately after the first possession you weren't going to be able to do it. And you only saw that package, I think, once, either last play of the third quarter or first play of the fourth. I mean, you just realized you weren't going to be able to do it. Even when Smith was gone, you realized that your Smith was dinged up to a point where you weren't going to be able to get some of the, like I said in the preview, some of the blocks that look great on paper, that you think with this position and this angle you'd be able to execute, you just knew you weren't going to be able to do. And this kind of leads us nicely to our next point as well. But before we praise Alex Atkins, want to praise Matt Lewis and the team at Congruity HR. Been with us for a long time, fantastic supporter. And I can't tell you, between Matt Lewis and Shannon Young, the amount of feedback and positive feedback that I get from people is incredible. We are exceptionally selective with who we work with, and we've been really fortunate with Matt. Matt's a great guy. I've talked about the fact that I moved my company over to him. I think within hours of me being there, I can't speak highly enough of Congruity HR and the services they offer, particularly if you're looking for help with either payroll or HR. Whether you want to shoot me a DM or email us to provide a third-party introduction, or just go on their website, congruityhr.com, and browse and connect with Matt directly. I can assure you, you won't find a better partner.
No doubt about it, man. I was surprised. I wanted to just ask in one of those bars on the bar crawl. I was like, how many people have not used Matt Lewis or Shannon? Because I'm not really sure how many hands would go up, right? It's like, oh yeah, I've got 2 loans from Shannon. I use Matt Lewis for my payroll. Like it was just it was pretty wild, but it was Knowles supporting Knowles, right? And that was great to see. Also got a lot of people who are like, hey, if we win this, should I donate to Rising Spear? I was like, I mean, yeah, that's kind of the win that you'd want to get, right? So
I mean, Quigley was eager enough to throw his damn cell phone number out on the Instant Reaction podcast there.
Really?
So yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I went back and
you guys have not watched
the
Instant.
Yeah.
I didn't watch the Quigley part. I should have watched it. I did a quick check to see just how good it was.
Yes, exactly. That was my motivation in the quick check as well.
I'm kind of surprised how many quality points we brought up in that Instant Reaction, given the lateness of the hour. You know, it was there's a lot of stuff we hit. Like, if you guys want to hear it, I thought our analysis of going for the 4th down or kicking was actually, I think it actually holds up.
It was good. I was real adamant that Florida State could have won by 10 or 17, depending on where we were in the show. But yes, definitely. Great times. Alex Atkins, man, I just can't praise it enough. And we'll, talk about Roderick Kearney in time, and we'll see what happens there. But you got a dynamic recruiter, and you got a guy that is a hell of a coach. And that combination, and a hell of a coach as far as instruction, practice work, work on the chalkboard and in-game adjustments. That's a hell of a combination. And credit to the work done yet again.
No doubt about it. I mean, that was that's a hell of a big time game debut for Alex Atkins calling that game. And calling that game, understanding your ability to block up front or inability at times, just depending on the play and who you had in there, and understanding you don't have Harris, you don't have Lyles. Those are 2 guys you're counting on to start. Really, really nice job there. Defensively, I think that the defensive staff deserves some praise, right? We've criticized them quite a bit for some of their recruiting. I think that's a valid criticism, and we don't shy away from that. However, we will also give them praise. I thought they called a really nice game. They had a game plan that I think everybody in the world realized they would use, and they didn't try to get too cute. They only blitzed on 25% of snaps. They did bluff a lot of blitzes, and then they got out of there. Importantly here, they played a lot of 2 deep coverage, a lot of split safety coverage, a lot of you ain't throwing it over our heads coverage, okay? And that really, really worked. Quiz for you. How many passes traveled more than 20 yards in the air for LSU? Not just completions, but just total throws.
2?
1.
1? My Lord.
Wow. And only 7 passes traveled more than 10 yards in the air. Not completions. Attempts.
That's crazy. I mean, that
LSU played everything within 10 yards of the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
That's what you want. I mean, that is really exactly like if you told Adam Fuller, right, that, hey, man, LSU's only going to be able to attempt 1 pass of more than 20 yards in the air and only 7 additional of 10 plus. He'd be like, yeah, I'm going to need a minute. Like this is, or maybe a cigarette, right? Like that was really a great plan by them. Look, in-game situations on both offense and defense do need some work still. I didn't love the toss, not because it's a bad play. I just don't love it right there. And it's not even to me about the goal line situation. It's about how much time's left in the game and the value of a field goal even over the potential risk of a turnover. I want that ball in Jordan's hands or just a snap to a kid who played some quarterback in high school in a Wildcat like Trayshawn. Somebody who's taking a lot of Wildcat or a lot of shotgun snaps and just run it straight ahead. A field goal there wins you the game. It's done.
Yeah. It's tough, man. I mean, there's no way to. You really got to make the bifurcated decision to take a word from the instant reaction review as well. You decide whether or not you're just trying to run out the clock or you're playing football. And look, I would prefer you just hand it off, but handoffs don't protect you either. I was at Grant Field when a kid from Marist got his hat on Jeff Sims's or Ernie Sims's brother. What's his name? I'm sorry, I'm forgetting it. The running back. We fumbled on the goal line against Georgia Tech. I forgot. I'm embarrassed. I forgot. Marcus Sims. There we go. I wasn't in Raleigh, but I watched one of old Mr. Jones, the tailback, and Christian Ponder fumble the ball on the 2-yard line. I mean, there are bad things can happen down there. Obviously, you limit statistically what can go wrong when you don't pitch it. I wish you wouldn't have pitched it, but yeah, if you're playing to score, then there's an element to that where turnovers happen, unfortunately.
So, I mean, it is just a question of risk tolerance, right? I mean, think about it. Like, I'll ask you a question. Would you throw the ball down there?
Not with a clock where it is. No, I wouldn't.
I agree. Okay. So, I mean, but because there's the risk of the clock stopping, right? There's also some risk that the ball is picked off. It really it's a question of risk tolerance. It's not a terrible play call, I guess. I just would rather. I'd rather you run.
I agree completely.
Take 2 whacks at it, if you want with Jordan.
Yeah, I will say that if you went into Wildcat and you fumbled, you'd have all the same complaints. You'd say you're giving the ball to a kid who hadn't touched the ball the whole game. All of a sudden, you're having a running back make a read. Blah blah. I mean, there would be the same level of complaint, I think, to that. So. The complaints are based on the outcome. I will say the play that they ran that on earlier in the game, I think it only went for 8 yards or something. It's one of the more impressive plays of the game. If you go back and you look at the push and the way that some of Florida State's offensive linemen are just absolutely washing LSU's defensive line on that play, it's nuts. It's impressive. Now, doesn't have anything to do with what happened where you ultimately put the ball on the ground, but you'd run the play before it worked well. It sounds like you won't see it again, but bad things can happen down there. And unfortunately for Florida State, they did. And fortunately enough, they got away with it.
All right, last thing here. This is sort of a looking forward. FSU was 63% success rate on passing downs. Third down passing downs in particular.
Yeah.
All right. I'm happy to announce that if they can sustain this, they will be the best third down passing down situation team in the history of the sport of football, which is great. I mean, obviously that's the goal. You want to be 20% better than an Alabama team that had, Tua and 3 first-round receivers and 4 NFL linemen. Last year, Bama was at 41%. Okay. Last year, FSU was at 30.2%.
And Bama's 41% was best in the nation, just as a point of reference.
Yeah. So you are, again, this game, you're 63%, Bama 41%. This is such an outlier statistically to do this in a game of this magnitude that I do find myself asking for evaluation purposes going forward, not to discredit what they did, obviously, because they played their butts off and they deserve the win. You need to be much better on standard downs here so that you're avoiding having that, having the number of longer down and distance situations that you did. What you did is not entirely repeatable in my estimation for that level of success. We know that turnovers, even though there's a luck component, they are more likely to occur when you're in negative leverage situations. FSU must do a better job going forward of avoiding negative leverage situations, right? That probably means trying to hit some more explosives on early downs, because you did try to be, I found the game plan appropriate, but also somewhat conservative at times on early downs. And they were not lucky that Jordan bailed them out. They were just fortunate that he did so with it. And there were some really good play calls to assist him in doing that. You will not sustain this, okay? There will be games, if they continue to put themselves in this many negative leverage situations, that we get on here for the instant. We're like, well, yeah, man, they had 9 third and longs. That's not a way to win a ball game. Like, Jordan could be the most improved player in the nation. They still won't. FSU won't be 41% in that category this year, much less 63. They just won't with their personnel. They got to do a better job on early downs. If you want me to nitpick something and not just be, Homer here, that's the thing I got to nitpick. Run game really wasn't that great against LSU. Got to stay ahead of the chains a little more early downs.
Yep. Final parting comment. We had a couple emails, a couple DMs, and I'm not trying to chide anybody or anything else. As a fan base, let's just leave the Travis Hunter talk alone. I mean, I got a lot of emails like, oh, what do you think Travis Hunter thought of while he was watching this game? One, I don't think kids watch these games to the extent that people think they do, like, at all. I mean, a kid might have watched 5 or 10 minutes of the game. Maybe he watched every second of it. I'd be pretty shocked. 2, makes us look small as hell. Travis Hunter made a decision. Best of luck to him. He's playing defensive back for Deion Sanders. That's a decision that he made. I can understand that decision. Best to him. I don't want to have a Travis Hunter referendum every other week on their show or something like that. Good luck to him. I don't plan on talking about Travis Hunter a whole lot more.
100%. Yeah. It's just not something I need to talk about every episode. Maybe he transfers next year, right? Maybe he has an awesome career at Jackson State. Good for him. I always like talking to him, like, I'm not like DMing him all the time or like that, but like when I see him, I enjoy talking to him. So I think that'll probably wrap it. And Ingram, I'll talk to you again in about 10 minutes, and people will hear that conversation come Friday.
Till then, always appreciate the support. This has been the Nolecast.